I knew we'd done nothing wrong. Well, almost nothing. It was for the highest good after all. But my heart still climbed into my throat when Mrs. Johnson pulled Benny and me out of the line for a private conversation. Well, she said, you've been investigating this situation for a full day. What do you have to report? I offered a sickly smile. There's good news and bad news. Isn't there always? Her eyebrow arched. Go on. The good news is we found what was putting people into comas, I said. And the bad? Asked Mrs. Johnson. Bunny showed her the photo. This thing knocks people out. That's the best you can do, she said. Photoshop monsters? It's no Photoshop, said Benny. He's telling the truth. I added, we don't even know how to use the program. No kidding, our principal grimaced at the image. Then what in the wide world of sports is that? We call them Scorp-Lions, said Benny. That's awful, she said. I jammed my hands into my pockets. Well, it was the best name we could think of. Mrs. Johnson cut her eyebrows at me. Not the name, the creature. Oh, her gaze flicked down at the photo, then at the restless students all around us. I should close down the school right now, she said. All these kids. The danger. Well, sure, said Bunny, you could shut things down, but maybe just taken care of the problem. But we may have just taken care of the problem. Explain yourself, said Mrs. Johnson. Bunny's chest swelled. We left something in a mechanical room that the Scorp-Lions really hate. In fact, I bet they're already running away on their furry little feet. She stared at him for a moment, and then her eyes widened. That was you too. That nasty smell? I said. Suddenly the air around us felt frostier than an igloo with a moonroof. Well, said Benny, obvious. I don't like to brag, but you disrupted classes throughout this school and drove everyone from their rooms. The principal's eyes narrowed, like a gunslinger's at high noon, not knowing if those creatures would be roaming around outside. Yeah, said Bunny. He seemed less certain. And you deliberately ignored my instruction by trying to do things yourself instead of calling me? I jumped in. Technically, yes, but Mrs. Johnson's expression looked meaner than a mama wasp. I should lock you up in detention and throw away the key. But you said we get 2 free passes, Benny protested. Her nostrils flared. Consider this your first one. Yes, ma'am, I said. Thank you, ma'am. Principal Johnston planted her fists on her hips, looked up at the sky, and blew out some air. I just as soon bite a bug as work with you two again. Thanks, said Benny. We try. That wasn't a compliment. She took a moment to collect herself. Now, I'll say this in a way that not even you can misinterpret, Mr. Brackman. I grimaced. When principals call you mister, it's never a good sign. First, said Mrs. Johnson, text me that photo so I can send it to pest control. And second, stay out of that room. Comprende? Yes, ma'am, we said together. But we can still take a quick peek inside, right? Said Benny. Just to be sure they are gone. The principal's gaze was a slow burn, not a peek, Not a sniff, not a glimmer, and just to make sure. Yes, I asked. Key, please. With a wistful look, Bunny handed her the universal key. She made a showing gesture with both hands. Now, Git, go join your class. You can always tell when Mrs. Johnson is upset. Her Texas strength gets strong enough to raise a blood blister on a boot. When that happens, the smart move is to follow orders. We are not that smart, but still we went and joined our class. Geez, said Benny, would it have killed her to say thanks? Like the other teachers, Mr. Chu ended up conducting our lessons on the playground until jumbo-sized electric fans could air out the classroom. Amrita and Cheyenne complained bitterly about not being able to work on their science fair projects. But I didn't mind. Hopefully our projects were taking care of itself right that moment. With a little luck, the monsters had fled back into whatever underground tunnels they'd come from, and all that remained was to learn the chemical content of Benny's sting bomb for what I would write up. Easy peasy, sweet and greasy. Then the all-clear bell rang. Everyone fell into lines and strutted back to class. Hey, Benny said as we walked down the hall. How do we tell if the you-know-whats are gone? If we can't go check out the room? I lifted a shoulder. Nobody else gets stung. And the moaning stops? Works for me. Tina put up beside us. So what did the principal want? To congratulate us on our excellent grades, said Benny. She snorted. In your dreams, Bradman. What did she really want? We're doing a little project for her, I said. You mean busting up the haunting? Said Tina. My mouth fell open. How did you know? One corner of her mouth tucked upward. That's your only talent, aside from buying comic books and making wisecracks. She laughed at my expression. Nah, Tyler's been babbling about his there, and I connected the dots. So what's the latest on our spook situation? We gave her the lowdown, and before we finished, discovered that we had an eavesdropper. Ask me. Bunny noticed her first. How much did you hear, nosy McSnooperstein? He asked, tossing back her long black hair as me said, You've got a monster problem and you're in way over your head, just as I predicted. Predicted? I said. You told everyone it was a ghost. Esme flapped her hand. Ghost, monster, whatever. Shout when you need my expert help. Don't you worry. Bunny's grin oozed smugness. The real experts have already handled it. But then only 10 minutes after we settled back into our lessons, the creepy moaning echoed once again through the vents. The real experts hadn't handled anything. Those Scorp-Lions were dug in deeper than a deer tick in the hound's dog's ears. I met Bunny's exasperated gasp. We both knew what this meant. Come lunchtime, we have to work on Plan C. And we didn't have a Plan C. We were running out of both plans and resourcefulness, and the clock was ticking.